Welcome to the Rekall Remedy Virtual Implant Specialists. How can I help you today? You'd like to have some memory implants? Okay, well, you've certainly come to the right place. What is your name? And I'll just get a little file started here for you. Oh, that's kind of an interesting name. Did your parents give you that, or is that something that you chose yourself? Okay. And how do you spell the last part, if you don't mind? Okay, I wasn't quite sure. Okay, and what is your current address? Okay. And your hailer frequency? Okay. And digital file receiving address? Yeah, we're definitely going to need that because we're going to have to give you, send you some instructions for aftercare once you actually get the implant done. So, definitely gonna need that address. Okay, yeah, we can send those histories over. Send those files right over. Okay, now I'm going to get into a little bit of your medical history, and we do need to schedule some psychological tests to make sure that, you're not going to have a psychotic episode after getting memory implants. So I'm going to ask a few basic questions, and then we'll have to run a few scans as well. Can we go ahead and schedule those scans? Can they be done today? Let me see if we have an opening or not. We do have an opening for some brain scans today at 6 p.m. Does that work for you? Yeah, you'll be our last patient of the day, and we'll just get you scanned, and then, you can get your memory implants as soon as the next day. That works for you? Okay. Okay, now, as far as your medical history, please answer honestly. We don't want any, anything going wrong in your brain if you fail to reveal something. Obviously, we will be doing the brain scans as well, so that should also alert us to anything that you might not be aware of. But to the best of your knowledge, do you have any personality or behavioral disorders? Do you have any kind of a history of those? Yes, they can be worsened by memory implantation just because of the various, wires, if you will, that have to be cut to insert new digital memories. So, are any of those going to be an issue for you? Not as far as you know? Okay. Do you have a family history of personality or behavioral disorders? One uncle on your mom's side? And is that a blood relative or not? Not a blood relative. Okay. Shouldn't be a problem then. Okay. Do you frequently have trauma or anxiety? Yes, the experience of those can unfortunately often be heightened when you receive virtual memory implants. So we do like to know that ahead of time because certain things can be triggered by artificial memories. But no, okay. Do you or anyone in your immediate family suffer from schizophrenia, as far as you know? No? Okay. Do you or does your family have a history of psychotic episodes? Very rarely? Okay, and is that you or your family? A couple of your family members? Okay. And how many times? What was the duration of those episodes? And what exactly happened during those episodes? Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay, and you've never experienced anything like that yourself? Okay, you should be fine then. Okay. Now on to physical fitness. What would you say is your heart rating, your cardiac health? How is that holding up as far as you know? Pretty good. Okay. Have you ever had any heart conditions that you know of? Okay. And what is your typical brainwave frequency? You've never had it measured? Okay, well, let me just put that in the test when we're running your brain scan test. We can test your frequency as well. Why do we need that? We have to tune the virtual memory implants to the same frequency as your brain waves. That helps the brain accept the artificial implant. Otherwise, rejection is far more likely. What do I mean by more likely? Occasionally, the implants can be rejected. I'll get to that in a minute when I tell you about the warnings, but that's part of why we tune them to your brain frequency, because they're far less likely to be rejected then. So let me just finish scheduling the scan here. Okay, now, are you interested in a permanent or temporary virtual memory implant? Is there any cost difference? No, there's not really any cost difference. Some people only want a memory for a short time, if they have a big test ahead of them, something like that. But the most common is a permanent memory, so that you get the experience of doing something without actually having to do it. It's a lot cheaper to just implant a memory of having traveled to Jupiter than to actually have to travel to Jupiter. Am I right? You're going to go with permanent. Okay. It's also a lot faster just getting an implant than to have to travel all the way to Jupiter, so you can do this in a day. Okay, so I'm going to do your brain scans this evening, and then you can come back as soon as tomorrow to get the actual memory implant inserted. Is there a time of day that works best for you? Late morning or early afternoon? Okay, let me see what I can do here. I have a 1 p.m. appointment. That'll work for you? Okay, we'll schedule that for 1 p.m. tomorrow then. Okay, and now on to the less fun part of my job. I do have to tell you some of the warnings, some of the dangers associated with virtual memory implants. These are particularly the ones that are associated with permanent memory implants. These first few aren't really as much of a problem in the temporary ones, because of course the temporary ones will be removed fairly quickly, but the permanent ones do come with a bit more danger, so why don't we get straight into that. Memory manipulation can be an issue, because obviously any kind of virtual device is subject to being hacked by skilled hackers, and they could either, spy on your memories or alter them or delete them, steal certain information out of your brain, things like that. So that's something that you're going to want to be aware of. Another issue is malicious stimuli. What is that? Well, hackers could, use your virtual implant to send, shall we say, unwanted electrical signals to the brain, which could, cause you to feel pain or disorient you. We did have one case where someone was hacked and someone was actually temporarily paralyzed because someone was using the memory implant to send the right electrical signal to cut off certain parts of communication with the person's brain and body, so they were temporarily paralyzed until that hacked implant was removed. But that is one benefit of going through us. We do offer free removal of any virtual implant that we insert. So if you do get hacked, you can always just come back and we can remove the defective device. We use the highest quality firewall to ensure that hacking is extremely rare. And if you come in once or twice a year and just have the software in your implant updated, you're very unlikely to get hacked. The person in particular in question that I was just telling you about, they had 10-year-old software in their implant. They didn't think it was necessary to come in and update it, and they found out the hard way that it really is. So that's one of the dangers. But again, if you ensure that you take precautions to keep all your implant software updated, you're far less likely to get hacked. Not saying it's impossible, because there are some very gifted hackers out there, but certainly less likely if you keep all of your antivirus in your implants up to date. So another danger, speaking of antivirus, another danger is that hackers, again, this is one of the biggest dangers of memory implants, is because they are digital, they are slightly subject to being hacked. Someone could insert ransomware into one of your memory implants. How would they do that? It's usually if you're in like a public place, like if you stop in one of the coffee shops, they can just scan your head with a virus device that can insert the ransomware right there. Obviously, it's not immediate. They have to go through the process to hack it and everything, but this one, particularly ransomware, cannot be done long distance. They can't just get the signal to your memory implant. They actually have to make almost physical contact with you in order to be able to insert ransomware. So again, you're more likely to get hacked one of the other ways than to have someone insert ransomware. But in the small chance that someone does succeed in implanting ransomware in one of your virtual memory implants, they can kind of, lock you out of your own memories and hold them for ransom until you pay whatever they're asking you to pay. So that is a danger of virtual memory implants. And then, of course, privacy violations is also something you have to worry about, because if you get hacked, they can not just look in the memory implant, they can send electrical signals out of it to read all your other memories in your brain. And, they can find your bank codes, your address, your cybernetic security numbers, things like that, all the various things that you wouldn't want anybody else knowing. So these all kind of fall under the umbrella term of hacking. So it is important that you keep all of your implants up to date to try and avoid any of these, hacking dangers. Are there any physical dangers? Yes, there are a few physical dangers as well. This is, of course, a surgical procedure, so there, does run a small risk of certain types of brain damage, in particular, infection or tissue damage. You could have interior bleeding where the incisions are made to insert the implants. It can become infected around there. It's rare because we have highly trained physicians who do all of the memory implanting, but we can't completely rule it out, which is why you will have to sign a waiver tomorrow before you actually undergo the procedure. There is also the risk of bioincompatibility or rejection, which I mentioned earlier. Occasionally, the brain will reject the implant, and when that happens, It can leave a little bit of scarring on the brain, and that can damage, adjacent cells or neural pathways, which can lead to, well, brain damage. Again, very rare, and usually if there is any brain damage, it's so small you won't even notice it. Like you're not going to lose huge chunks of brain. But, mild brain damage is not really something you want either, which is why we hire only the most skilled surgeons. And then a rare condition that can happen is cocoon scarring, and that is where the brain kind of goes into self-defense mode, and it forms kind of like a little cocoon scar or a callus around the memory implant, which not only does cause a small bit of brain damage, but it also dampens the signal on the memory implant itself, so you kind of lose the function of the implant as well. But again, that's extremely rare, 1 in every 750,000, so we take all the precautions and everything, but we do need to let you know the risks that are associated with it. So is that something that you're okay with? You're still wanting to move forward after hearing all of the warnings? You still want to? Okay, great. Well, then I will get the waiver form ready, and you don't have to sign that now. You'll just sign that tomorrow, first thing in the morning, before you actually undergo the knife for your memory implant. Just to sign that to make sure that you absolve us of any liability. And again, we are not trying to have you absolve us of any negligence, because we take the highest safety precautions, sterile environment, highly trained physicians, updated software, all of that. And, just any of the dangers are very rare, but we do have to protect ourselves just in case it's that, 1 in a bajillion chance that something does happen. So I'm sure you understand. Okay, great. Let's just get that ready then. We can sign that tomorrow. Okay, so now let's talk about what memory experience you would like to have implanted. We have various options. We could do romance implants. We could do high life memory implants. We could do adventure implants. You'd like to do an adventure implant? Okay, do you have a specific adventure in mind? Or I can pull up our list of pre-written adventures that we can implant in your brain. These are adventures that actually happened. We had quite a few nice people donate certain memories on their passing. They left it in their wills that we could harvest their brain memories and put them into our little collective here, so that people like you could experience the fun adventures that they had without any of the dangers or costs associated with real adventures. So, would you like me to pull up the list of pre-written adventures? You would? Okay. What was that? Is anyone else going to have the same adventure implanted? No. With our pre-written adventures, as soon as someone has used the adventure, we strike it from the database, so that no one was going to be running around with exactly the same adventure as you, because, that would take the fun out of it. And obviously the people who have donated these adventures have passed on. So while they had the actual adventure, they are no longer with us. So you don't have to worry about running into anyone else with the exact same memory adventure. So you're good with that? Okay. Well, we do have Exploring an Unexplored Planet, which of course there will be plenty of aliens to meet and greet and fun adventure like that. Too cliche? Okay, well, we also offer Hacking a Corporation. That was a real memory? Yes, that was an actual memory. This was from someone who I am not at liberty to say who, kind of a high-profile cyber criminal who was caught and arrested. But before they died, they were kind enough to leave us the memory, minus any important information. We did have to take out the sensitive information that they actually gleaned during their hacking. We call it memory scrubbing, where we delete out certain parts, but don't worry, we have input all new safe data into the memory, so you'll feel like you've actually hacked some sinister corporation without any of the repercussions of actually hacking the corporation. So, you think you're going to pass on that one? Okay, no problem. Well, we do also offer a captaining your own ship adventure. No, that's correct. You are not the only person who will have this adventure because it is a fairly generic adventure. However, we will customize it to exactly the way you want it, so your memory of captaining your own starship will be completely unique from anyone else's. You think you'd like to go ahead and try that? Okay, well, let's pull up the program for that one. Okay, so what type of ship would you like to be captain of, or would you like to remember being captain of? Okay, excellent choice. If I do say so myself, they're pretty fast and fun to fly around the galaxy, and in this case, you don't have to worry about ever crashing into a planet. Okay, now, how many crew members, if any, would you like on your ship? Okay. Oh yes, certainly we can do that. Yep. Okay. Why have everyone be human if you don't need them to? Okay, and where would you like most of the memories to be positioned? All over? Okay, we can do that. How many years worth of flying would you like in this memory? Okay. No, that's great actually, because that'll give us plenty of time to put in quite a number of various locations in the galaxy. So, okay, and any dangers that you'd like to remember encountering? You know, alien attacks, ship breakdowns, things like that. A ship breakdown? Okay, we can do that. And do you want that to be a happy ending? Or, you know, does the ship explode when it breaks down? Or do you and the crew manage to find a new power coil and restart it? How would you like that to end? Okay. And do you want this to be an entirely happy trip? Or do you want maybe some emotional events to occur in it? Maybe the loss of a crew member, something like that. Yes, it will feel completely real, and there will be some grief involved, so, you know, if you don't want to feel the grief, I wouldn't recommend doing that part of it. Almost lose a crew member, but manage to save them. Okay, yeah, that's a great way to do it, because then you'll have that adrenaline memory of trying to save them, and then you'll get the happy memory of having done exactly that. So, okay. Okay, anything else that you'd like me to include in your memory implant? Yeah, sure, I can do that, yep. How big would you like that? Okay, I can definitely do that, yep. Yeah, it's your adventure. You might as well have it exactly the way you want. You're paying for it. Get exactly what you want. I highly recommend doing exactly what you want here. It's all fake anyway, so you might as well make it seem real and be exactly what you want. So, okay, so you are all set. We have your adventure ready. We are going to go ahead and upload this information into the memory implant. And if you want to come back tonight at 6 p.m., we'll run your brain scans, and the memory implant will be ready to go in the morning. You can get here, sign your waiver, we'll put you under, put in the memory implant, And by the time you wake up, you are going to remember being captain of a starship, and it doesn't matter who tells you you weren't, you're never going to believe them because you will have the memory, and it will be just like any real memory. It will be so clear to you. You'll remember, the details just like you would a real memory, the feelings, the smells, how things felt, tasted if you eat anything, whatever. You're gonna remember it all just like any real memory. So, if somebody tries to tell you it didn't happen, you're going to have the memory to prove otherwise, and you're not going to remember never having that memory. You're not going to remember a time when you didn't have that memory. So, will you remember coming in here? Well, that's an option. We can either have you remember coming in here, or we can just edit that out so that the memory flows a little more naturally. No, we're not going to edit out completely you coming in here because we want you to be aware that you came in here in case you have anything that goes wrong with your memory implant. We would just edit out the section of you choosing which memory to have implanted. You would like to do that. You want to make sure it's a real experience. Okay, yeah, we can definitely do that then. Okay. So you remember coming in, you remember getting memory implants, you just won't remember which ones are real and which ones are fake. So, okay, sounds good to you? Great. Okay, so you are all set. We will see you again tonight at 6 p.m. And run your brain scan and get you all ready for your big adventure implantation tomorrow, okay? Okay, great. Have a lovely few hours, and we'll see you again at 6 p.m.